Hey y'all, so today's video is all about painting furniture with a paint sprayer. I'm going to be using my Wagner Flexio 5000, but this tutorial also has tips for most any home sprayer on the market. Y'all, it's hot out here, so I'm going to take you into my studio and we're going to break this down and I'm going to show you all the different settings and a few troubleshooting tips as well. So come on, let's head inside. So I'm just going to go over a few supplies that you'll need before spraying a piece of furniture. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this so I can get to, what you clicked on this for, the how to actually paint the furniture with a sprayer. You need some drop cloth of some kind. This is just the plastic drop cloth. I think they're under $5 that you can get, or the fabric drop cloths work really well. You're going to need to cover the space around where you're spraying. Now, I also use the Wagner spray tent, and it's a large tent. I think there are a couple others on the market, but the Wagner really works well, and it goes on sale fairly often. So go with the large. If you're going to invest in a sprayer, go ahead and invest in the large tent. You're going to need it for furniture. Not much fits in the other sizes. So that's just something. But even with the spray tent, you still need extra protection for areas around your spray booth, as well as I like to put something on the floor. You also want to have an area that's open that doesn't have a whole lot of things around it that could get covered in overspray. Now, this sprayer that I use doesn't have a whole lot of overspray, but there is some. So cover your space. If you're in a garage, you could take the heavier visqueen and like tape off an area to make yourself a nice little spray booth. And that way no dust or leaves or anything like that gets into your paint as well, which is fabulous. I personally don't have that, so I take it out into my Wagner spray tent and put it on my deck and then cover the area really well. The other thing you're going to want is a hat or something to cover your head, a scarf or something, because it can get all up in your hair. Also, eye protection. I usually wear an old pair of glasses, but I am looking into getting the safety glasses that have the readers in them because old eyes need some help over here. The other thing is a mask. Even if you're spraying outside, you still need a mask because that paint that's coming through there, and even though you're using low VOC paint, it's still particles that could be you're breathing in and putting into your lungs. So have a mask. There's several on the market. I have really loved this one. Yes, I'm an affiliate with them. So if you click the link in the description for the base camp mask, you use the code the wooden butterfly, you do get 10% off. But I've also loved it. I had a different one that was like a rubber gasket kind of thing that stuck on your face, and then the carbon filters on the side, and it was just horrible in this hot weather. I am in Florida, like I said, and then in the summer on top of it, yeah, it was absolutely miserable, and it just kept getting gross, and I tried to clean it, and it just stayed gross. Versus this one, you can take the filters out, throw it in the wash. It's also breathable, so you don't get, like, the mesh part is breathable, so you don't get so much yuck going on around your face that you just don't want. So it's also very adjustable. The other ones seem to be kind of the size to fit a man, I guess, so it never fit my face right. Anyhow, I love this mask. Comes with several filters, and like I said, you just pop that filter out and throw it in the wash, and you're nice and clean and good to go the next time. The other thing is some filters. You always want to filter your paint, and I just got this one off Amazon and I love it. So usually just bought these, and then this new package that I saw came with this cup, because you go to put this in the cup to filter your paint, and it wants to, you go to put the paint in it and it wobbles all over. And so this thing has come in so handy. I just started using it today. And that's it. So like I said, I do use a Wagner spray tent. Use the large size. drop cloth, something to cover your head, eye protection, breathing protection, and your feet. There's that. In your clothes, it's going to get on you even though you're spraying from afar. I always get it on me somehow. Like you probably, yeah, I've got it on me right now. So you want to have something that you can get paint on and throw it out. I notoriously spray my feet, so I have special work flip-flops that I actually wear because it's too hot to wear like anything bulky. So I have the work flip-flops that I wear out there, and then I just kick them off when I come inside. So that's what I do. Now let's get to how to use the sprayer, and let's break down what the sprayer is about. So the Wagner Flexio 5000, I'm going to try to not sound too much like an infomercial, but this little sprayer really has worked out quite well for me. I get asked a lot what sprayer I used. I tried a couple that used an air compressor, and I just didn't have a compressor that worked really well. I usually get my husband's hand-me-down tools, so they're usually on their way out when he gives them to me. So the compressor just wasn't going to keep up. And I priced out compressors, and they were more than what this whole thing was. So I went with this, and then I also don't have to, if I wanted to take this somewhere, I don't have to lug a compressor around that's super heavy. So if I had a garage and I was only spraying in the garage, then that would work fine, but that's not what I have. So this has worked out super great. So the awesome thing about this is that the motor is in this box and is not here. So it's not the weight of it. As I get older and the more I have been painting, up till just a couple years ago, I did almost all my painting by hand, and it's done a number on my shoulder and my back and whatnot. So this is definitely a game changer. One, it gets a piece of furniture done in a quarter of the amount of time. But it just takes a little more prep work to make sure everything is, covered off and you're not spraying your deck. Haven't done that either. Nope, not me. So yeah, this is great. It's also great because I don't have a lot of storage. So this one comes completely off, and I'm not going to take this apart because it has paint in it, but I just wanted to show you that there's a lever here on the front, and it opens up and everything will fit back inside of it for storage. So the cord just easily comes right back in, and then this pops off. It's normally black, but that winds around in there and fits nicely. And you could pop this back in here as well. I usually don't because I always have it ready to go. But yeah, so you can pop everything back in there and then store it. And you just close it up and you're good to go. This comes with 2 different spray nozzles. As you can see, this is what I use all the time. And this is for walls, fences, decks, something like that, super large surface area. So you don't want to use this on furniture because too much paint is going to come out and you're going to get drips and runs and it's going to be gross. So just put this aside like I have. See the foam still in it. Haven't ever used it. Now let's open up this new nozzle that I just got. Amazon Prime had a little sale, so I picked up an extra one. So this is the cup where your paint goes. Like I said, this is the little strainer, and see how nice that cup works? Instead of trying to do this and then you try to put paint on it and it, whoop, not pretty. So that's that. Then you have your nozzle. Now this nozzle, and I'm going to show you in just a few minutes, the different troubleshooting things to look for. This nozzle, I 98% of the time have it pointed towards the nozzle, towards the tip, or this tube, because this is for if you are, tilting your sprayer at this direction, you can go this way and you're still siphoning up paint, versus if you put it back this way, then all your paint, all the paint is at the back side of the cup and your tube is up here sucking air. So that's not going to work. But when I'm painting furniture, 98% of it is down this way. So I keep it down this way. Now you also have this is your fan pattern. So I always think of it this way. When this section right here, see how it turns? When this section is horizontal, I am going to spray horizontally. Now my fan pattern is going to be up and down, but I'm going to be spraying horizontally. When the tip is up and down, then I'm spraying up and down. Now my fan pattern is going to be out this way, but we're going up and down. If that makes any sense. It just makes it a little easier for me. Now this whole thing comes apart. So after each use, you clean it. Like this needs to go and get in there and get cleaned. I usually put it in the soapy water right away. So this is your nozzle. This is the tip that goes over it. And then you would put this over the top and then screw it into place. Yes, it is all plastic parts, but you're not paying thousands of dollars. And I feel like you get a really nice professional atomized spray flow with this without spending thousands of dollars, to where if some plastic parts did break, then you can replace them or replace the entire thing for a fraction of what it would cost for the industrial commercial sprayers. So just keep that in mind. Then you have this part right here. Here's where we're going to get to some of the troubleshooting. So when you take this out, if you're having problems with paint spraying, this is one of the ways that something could be clogged, is that there is this little tube with that little blue gasket, and it sits on here and causes a suction with airflow somehow, I don't know physics, to where if this was clogged, that could hinder the suction ability of suctioning the paint back up into the cup. So, or the airflow into the cup, so then it causes a suction and the paint doesn't come up. So that's one thing to check if you are having problems spraying. The other thing would be the tip. I don't know if you can see this, but we'll zoom in here. I just used this and it's really hot outside. So this is water-based paint and it is drying at the nozzle. That's why I said I need to get it in the wash really quick. But usually you can just kind of scrape the paint off that tip and keep going if it, you're stopping between coats and it dries up. One thing to note, when you're using this in the blazing sun, it heats up a lot in that motor heats up a lot, and hot air will blow through here. And if it's too hot, it's drying at the tip as it's coming out. So just be aware of that. If you're using this in the summer in extreme heat outside, maybe wait till dusk or dawn. And like I've been starting around 6:30 so that I can get a few hours in before it's blazing hot. And then I don't have as much trouble with it drying in the tip. So that's something too. Like, it was drying so fast that I would, spray, let go of the nozzle, and it would dry. Spray. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So that's the second way to tip if you're to check if it's not spraying correctly. Then the third way is right here in this little thing, and I just found this out recently. Somehow or other, when I used sealer, it got up and under here and then clogged. There's a little air hole. Let me get it around here. There's a little air hole, and the sealer got in there and clogged that little air hole, which then did something with the siphoning effect as well. So those are the 3 things to check if your paint isn't coming out correctly. The last thing you would check is if your paint is at the right consistency, which we're going to go over that in a second when we go back out to, when we get the paint ready to go back out and spray. So you just pop that back in there like that. And then when you're done with it, you're going to take everything apart, put it in the sink with some hot soapy water, and you're going to rinse everything out really well. You're going to run water through here until it runs clear. And then that's it. The other thing that I also just learned about, which I should have known, is there is a filter down in this little compartment right here that you're going to want to, each use, you're going to want to take this out and rinse it out and then pop it back in, because it does get clogged up with dust. And so that will restrict airflow, which then could burn out your motor. And praise God, I didn't burn it out, but yeah, it's a good idea to rinse these out. And I'm actually going to look to see if I can order some more.
So before you spray, you should always strain your paint. I am using the Melange 1 paint, and we are just going to strain it out. Especially since I had used this jar before, there could be little bits and pieces that could be left behind. So we do want to strain those out because we don't want that to clog our tip either. And then you want to thin this out with water by about 10% so that it has a nice flow after.
So I'm going to do a few test patterns on this brown paper right here, just to show you the different settings and to show you what the proper spray pattern should look like. Normally I just take like a cardboard box, you know, a pizza box, Amazon box, anything like that. And I usually just test out on that. I've got my mask, got my hat, got my eyewear in my pocket, and I have my nozzle pointed towards the front. We have the paint all strained and in the cup. So now we just take our nozzle that we attach to the front of the turbine. Then we go ahead and we're going to match the arrows up right here, and then click it into place. Make sure it's all the way in. Turn it around, click it into place. There used to be a little thing that held, kind of clicked in here. Mine happened to break when I dropped the gun part, or the, I don't know what this is part called, but when I dropped this, it cracked, but it still fastens and goes on just fine. So next thing you're going to do, I want you to notice that there is an on-off switch right here on your sprayer. But to turn the turbine on, you got to click that button right down at the bottom. This turns it on. All that's coming out right now is air. Not until I pull this trigger does any paint come out. All that was coming out was air. It isn't until I pull this trigger that paint actually comes out. So I'm going to get my mask on and let's do a test pattern. So I have this right now set at, this is all the way forward, which means this is the paint flow. This means all paint, full paint flow is going to come out, but we're not going to do that first. We're going to crank it all the way up so that it's the minimal amount of paint flow. And then on the back here are the settings for my airflow. So this is all the way up, and this is all the way down. So this is airflow, this is paint flow.
So I started with my airflow and my paint flow both in the medium position and the nozzle in the horizontal position.
Now we're going to adjust it, and we're just going to increase the paint flow. Well, this is a good spray pattern right here. It's nice, and it's got good coverage, and it doesn't have a whole lot of overspray. You have a little bit here, but that's because my paper keeps moving. So this right here is actually an excellent spray pattern. So now we're just going to crank up the paint flow so I can show you the difference. Airflow is the same. See how much more paint came out, which is, great. It gives you a nice wide spray pattern, but this is going to run if you get it because it's too much paint coming out at once. It also can leave more of a texture or more of a droplets. So you want it nice and atomized like that one is. So now let's crank up the airflow, and let's see what that does.
So as you can see, there's paint going everywhere. It is too much paint, too much pressure, there's way too much overspray, and honestly, it just made a mess. So let me show you how you actually do it on a piece of furniture now.
So remember how I said last week that I wanted to see how the melange paint sprayed? Well, that's what we're working with today. And this is a little table that I actually painted with chalk mineral paint. It's actually one of my very first videos. So if you want to learn how to paint with chalk mineral paint by hand, you can go back and check out that video. I'll try to put a link in the description to that video, or try to have it somewhere in here. I'm learning, y'all. I'm learning all the editing things, so bear with me. But so we're going to actually be spray painting this piece of furniture with that melange paint. What we did to prep it was we cleaned it, and then I actually put a primer over it because there was some damage on the top. Something was sat on it, and it, I don't know, it made a strange, it ate through the paint, whatever was sat on it, which shouldn't have been on it. And it was also bright yellow. And since this will be that nice soft beige color, I wanted to have a good solid surface. So that's why you'll see a little bit of yellow poking through, because I quickly kind of primed it last night to get it ready. I'm not overly too particular. I think it'll be fine. I just didn't want that yellow to alter the color at all. So that's why it's primed. But normally melange paint already has a built-in primer, so it has the adhesion properties. So I didn't prime it for the adhesion purposes. Like I said, the top had some damage on it, and I actually had to fill in some of the wood and then prime over the top of it. So that's why it is primed. So let's get going. I'm gonna get this mask on, and we're gonna get this painted. So I'm started upside down, and this is my setup. I'm in my Wagner tent, and I have paper underneath, and I also have a drop cloth out front, and I'll show you that in just a second. But so everything is covered and is ready to go.
So you're just going to flip that switch on. Our settings are already there because we already did our test pattern, and now I'm just going to turn that airflow to a vertical position so that it goes up and down those spindles really nicely. You're going to keep your gun about 6 inches from your piece of furniture. You can move it from side to side to get all the angles, and that's what's great about the angle of that tube inside the cup, is it allows you to really get into each one of those little nooks and crannies, because every little piece of furniture is a little different. Nothing is just a big flat surface when it comes to furniture. The one great thing that I love about using a sprayer is that it cuts my time in about half. When I painted the last piece of furniture last week by hand, it took me about 30 minutes to apply it to that small dresser. Well, this took maybe 15 minutes with the second coat. So, and that's with setting up the tent and get everything ready too. I try to keep the hose in my opposite hand that I'm spraying with, and I sometimes will even put it over my shoulder so that it isn't dragging across the legs of your piece of furniture. And that's it, y'all. I am just touching up at this point, giving it a good look. And here is my setup. There's the tent, the floor covered, and then the drop cloth in front. So we don't get anything anywhere other than where it needs to be, that is on the furniture. I have 4 blocks under the legs, just like I am painting by hand. The great thing with this tent too is that you can take this, there's a screen in the front, so to dry, I'll just close that screen up so nothing gets in there, but there's still airflow. There it is. Look at that coverage. It is beautiful. This paint sprays beautiful. Brush is beautiful. I'm really, really in love with it. I know it looks yellow in the camera, but it's not at all.
So I don't even know if I'll need a second coat. We're going to let this dry. It is really hot out here. So I'm actually going to turn a fan on so this gets dry to the touch, and then I'm going to bring it inside because it's just, I'm dripping. It's so hot. So let's head back inside. Talk about it after this dries. So you're just going to turn this, take it off, and then we'll go inside and we'll clean it.
So I just took this bin that I got from the Dollar Tree and I take everything apart, fill it with some hot soapy water, and I take everything apart and I just throw it right into the soapy water. I let it soak for a little bit and then I'll go ahead and take it over to the sink and rinse everything out. Like I said, we're going to take everything apart. We're going to take off that nozzle, we're going to take off the feeder tube and throw everything right into that water. Well, there she is, y'all. The sheen on her is beautiful. This melange paint sprays even better than it brushes. It levels out super nice, super smooth. I am very tactile, and this is just the smoothest, buttery soft, satiny finish. So there is your detailed guide to painting furniture with a sprayer. And be sure to check us out next week as we have another tutorial. I'm going to be comparing a couple different types of paint that you can get at a hardware store. So see you next time, y'all. Happy painting.